I got with the Motorola. Like, I don't know what's been up with Motorola lately, but like the App Store is freezing. Like, it was just literally freezing. Just sitting there and freezing, and it was just having a lot of issues. And you know what? And when I was calling my dad, I just literally could not hear him. Like half the time, I couldn't hear him, and everyone else he talked to, they were just like, "Can you please speak up? Yeah, can you please repeat that?" And the AT OnePlus AT had no issues. So we're gonna go ahead and go back to mid-range land, and we have the Galaxy A53 5G. He's been looking for a Samsung. Look, he's been looking for a good Samsung with an Exynos chip for a while. And the Galaxy A53 has the 5,000 mAh battery. And its performance isn't the greatest, like peak performance, but its battery life and efficiency is really good, so. Yep, just like last time, we're going to go on ahead and okay, with that, there we go. Of course, you know, he's already been using it a couple days, so.
Shout out to Zag for the Zag 3DO case, D30 case, I think they call it.
So let's move on to the straight specs. In the U.S., you can only get the 6 gig 128 model, but as an expandable SD card slot. So right now he's got the Samsung's 512 gig expandable SD card in there. And basically what they're doing with the A53 is, because the A52 was actually higher performance than the A72, so they took the time with this generation and going ahead and flipped that around. So it was A13, A23, A33, then the 53, and then the 73 going up in order with performance. So then with the A73, you can actually get up to 8 gigs of RAM, 256 with the Snapdragon 778G, which was what was in last year's A53. No, last year's A52. So moving on to the straight specs, this has the Exynos 1280. It's less performance than the 1080, but that's fine. Yeah, Samsung can get their name scheme straight. So then I believe we have a 64 megapixel main shooter, along with a 12 megapixel ultra wide. Then I think we have two mega. I think one of these is a 5 megapixel. I think one of these is like a 5 megapixel macro and one's like a 2 megapixel depth sensor. I believe that's the way it's set up. Then you of course have your flash, and then a 32 megapixel camera. So if we just compare that to the S21 Ultra here, if there's one thing that pops out, this is actually kind of interesting. So the A53 has a silver ring around this little camera, like, hey, look at me, and the S21 Ultra tries to hide it up there. It's a black ring around it. It's really conspicuous. And it's a 32 megapixel main selfie shooter.
And just to, I'm not sure what you said exactly, but the macro and the depth sensor is 5 megapixel, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and 64 megapixel main shooter.
So let's go and get it out of power saving mode to get that 120. So it doesn't have an LTPO display, but I actually really do like the aspect ratio on it, because I think it's actually about the same width as the S21 Ultra.
It's supposed to be at 20 by
9. Yeah, that's pretty standard. So just turn 20 by 9, and it fits in the hand. It actually feels really good in the hand. Like the S21 Ultra, it's a little bit big, but it's not too bad. And this, if this is just a nice one-handed phone. So when it comes to data, so first of all, battery life, if you're not a power user, it's going to be just fine. It's going to be a battery champion. So for like $400, it's going to be a really good battery. But you got the normal, got your USB Type-C to Type-C cable, if I'm right. Yep, you got your normal USB Type-C to Type-C cable. Got your SIM ejector, and then you got your normal plug them and file them. You can throw them away or just throw them in like a file downstairs, and when you clean out your basement in 10 years, you'll find this. Be one of those type of things. Then you also have 25 watt fast charging. I don't know. They just call it fast charging on here. Then 25 watt super fast charging on the S21 Ultra. I don't know. And actually, I have to say the haptics on this phone are actually quite nice. considering it's just some mid-range phone. Pretty decent. Oh, and the reason why the chin kind of looks like this is because it's cloned from the small screen from the Fold, the original Galaxy Fold. So I don't know, you got some weird chin down here. There's probably some way to obviously fix it, but yeah. So that's gonna be pretty much it for the Galaxy A53. Overall, just a solid mid-ranger. So if you have the A52 and you want to upgrade to the next level, like if you have the A52, there's no reason to upgrade this year because the top-end phone, the A73, like yeah, it has a 108 megapixel sensor, but you're still gonna have the normal 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, and the 770AG. So next year is gonna be the 7 Gen 1, which we're kind of assuming that the 7 Gen 1 is gonna actually the 7 Gen 1 is going to be actually quite a step above it. It's going to have the Cortex A510s, the same efficiency cores that have it's going to pretty much be the exact same as the 8 Gen 1, except without the top X2 core. So next year, the A73 is going to have the 7 Gen 1, and then I assume the A50. Let me get this straight here. So the A74 is going to most likely have the next year 7 Gen 1, or assuming it's going to be called the 7 Gen 1, and then below that, the A54 might have a Exynos chip. Samsung, we really don't know. Like Samsung, they're still trying to transition away from Qualcomm. We see how that's going. It's not going very well for them, but I think the A53 is a step in the right direction because their 5nm foundries, they are getting more efficient, but their peak performance just still isn't quite there. Like in the peak performance department, their phones still just overheat way more than the Qualcomm chips. And that's actually really showing because whereas Qualcomm, they can get really high performance with lower clock speeds, other companies like MediaTek and also Samsung, they also have to push the clock speeds a little bit higher just to get that same performance. And that's definitely showing where the Samsung Exynos is just not quite up there with the optimization with peak performance. So next year, we could see the entire Galaxy A series with Exynos chips. I would not be surprised if that actually does happen, but most likely it's not. So if you have the Galaxy A52, this really isn't a worthy upgrade. Yeah, the battery life is going to be a bit better, but peak performance wise, it's not. It's actually going to be 50% less than the multi-core. So if you really want to upgrade to like a better phone, go for the A73 because it has a 6.7-inch display with the 100 megapixel sensor. So overall, what do I think this phone? Just pretty much a good standard mid-range. There's not much else to say about it. And also after kind of the Note 20 catastrophe, if you don't know, they literally Samsung didn't update that phone for like 6 months. And after that happened with the Note 20 Ultra, they've been on it every single month. Like, usually phones are supposed to get a security patch every 3 months. Samsung's been doing it every single month with all their phones. It's been ridiculous. So this phone, you're gonna most likely get big Android updates for the next 2 years. So so this phone will be good until Android 15 or 4 years. Is it 4 years?
Yeah, I've heard 3 and then I heard 4, so I think Samsung is gonna go for the 4 years on it. So
I guess they're going for the long haul with this phone. And of course, it's not gonna have the LTPO display. That's pretty much like reserved for the flagships. And like you can tell, like maybe the software isn't quite as optimized as the top end Samsungs, but overall, it's just a good solid phone. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. We might do like a month-long review if my dad still has this phone. Just kind of tell you how the mid-range experience is. And one last thing is, for some reason in the US you're capped at 6 gigs of RAM, whereas in South Korea you can get up to 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. So I'm not quite sure what Samsung's trying to aim for there, but South Korea, that's where Samsung is. They're gonna they're always getting all the good phones out there. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and then I'll see you next time.